Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. Today is April 20th and you're here with Jane and Molly. I don't know if you can see it. Molly. I should put a microphone by her, but Molly's here over at Blue Box 29 with us today. And today is April 20th, like we said. The topic for today in our month of Fae and Hidden Worlds is the Veil Walker, and today is the Stand. So we are in week 3 of the Danger. Yesterday was the Chase. Today is the Stand. So our theme is drawing boundaries, and we're going to see that through 4 folklores today. And the 4 we're going to look at that through is Celtic, Hawaiian, Yoruba, and Norse folklore today. So enjoy these 4 stories, and I will see you right after with the Stand. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1, Brigid, Guardian of the Sacred Hearth. Within the luminous traditions of Irish mythology, the goddess, Brigid, also known as Brigid or Bridge, stands as a powerful embodiment of protection, sobriety, and the sacred act of defining boundaries, perfectly aligned with the theme of drawing boundaries and the lesson that power defines space. Revered as a triple goddess associated with fire, healing, poetry, and smithcraft, Brigid occupies a central place in Celtic spiritual life, particularly as a guardian of the hearth, the symbolic and physical heart of the home. Her presence is both strongly celebrated during the festival of invoked, marking the transition from winter to spring and the renewal of life, when households traditionally invoke her blessing to purify and protect their dwellings. Folkloric traditions describe Brigid as a defender against malevolent spirits and disruptive fae forces, whose presence was believed to be especially potent during seasonal transitions when the veil between worlds thinned. Through sacred fire and ritual acts, she establishes protective boundaries that ensure harmony between the human and otherworldly realms. In many Irish folk practices, Brigid's protective power is invoked through the creation of Brigid's cross, a woven symbol placed above doorways to guard the household from harm and to sanctify the space within. Additionally, the brought bride, or Brigid's mantle, was traditionally left outside on the eve of invoked so that it might be blessed by her presence, later serving as a healing and protective cloth for the family. These rituals reflect the belief that Brigid's influence extends beyond mere symbolism, actively shaping and safeguarding the environment by delineating sacred space. While direct mythology narratives of Brigid driving out the Fae are rare, Irish folklore frequently portrays her as a figure who harmonizes the relationship between human and the other world, ensuring that disruptive or harmful entities cannot cross into protective domains. Her power is not one of aggression, but of sanctification, establishing order through warmth, light, and intention. Symbolically, Brigid's sacred fire represents illumination, transformation, and the assertion of sovereignty over one's environment. Fire, as both a creative and protective force, serves as a natural boundary, separating the safe interior of the hearth from the uncertainties of the external world. In this context, Brigid's role emphasized that boundaries are not acts of exclusion, but expressions of care and stewardship, safeguarding what is cherished while maintaining balance with the unseen. Her association with poetry and smithcraft further reinforces this symbolism, as both arts involve the shaping of raw material into meaningful form. mirroring the human capacity to define personal and communal space with intention and wisdom. Through these attributes, Brigid embodies the understanding that true power arises from the ability to create and sustain harmony within clearly defined limits. Culturally, Brigid's significance endured beyond the pre-Christian era, seamlessly transitioning into the figure of Saint Brigid of Kildare, whose veneration preserved many of the goddess's original attributes while integrating them into Christian tradition. The perpetual flame maintained by her followers at Kildare symbolizes the continuity of her protective presence, and the enduring reverence of her role as guardian of the community. This syncretism highlights the deep-rooted importance of Brigid's archetype within Irish cultural identity, emphasizing themes of protection, renewal, and compassionate authority. Ultimately, the legend and devotional traditions surrounding Brigid affirm the act of standing firm in one's power is essential to maintaining balance and well-being. By sanctifying the hearth and establishing protective boundaries, Brigid demonstrates that power, when guided by wisdom and compassion, becomes a force of nurturing protection rather than domination. In alignment with the theme of April 20th, her story serves as a luminous reminder that defining and defending sacred space is an act of love and responsibility. Through her enduring presence, Brigid teaches that boundaries like the steady flame of the hearth illuminate the path toward harmony, resilience, and spiritual sovereignty. Story 2, Pele, Sovereign of Fire and Sacred Land. Within the sacred traditions of Hawaiian mythology, the goddess Pele, revered as the sovereign of volcanoes and fire, embodies the profound power of defining and defending boundaries, perfectly aligning with the theme of drawing boundaries and the lesson that power defines space. Central to the cosmology of the Hawaiian Islands, Pele is both a creator and protector whose presence is ultimately connected to the dynamic landscape of Hawaii, particularly the volcanic regions of Kule and Mauna. Her legends, preserved through centuries of oral chant and storytelling, recount her epic journey across the Pacific in search of a permanent home, pursued by her sister, Namakawa Kahai, the goddess of the sea. This journey culminates in Pele's establishment of her sacred domain within the Halemau Uamu crater, where her fiery essence continued to shape the land. Through this act of claiming space, Pele asserts sovereignty over the volcanic landscape, demonstrating that boundaries are not merely lines of separation, but expressions of identity, authority, and belonging. Many Hawaiian narratives emphasize Pele's role as a guardian of her territory, illustrating the consequences faced by those who disregard the sanctity of her domain. Visitors who take volcanic rocks or disrespect the land are often said to incur her wrath, symbolizing the importance of honoring the spiritual relationship between people and place. Pele's fiery eruptions, while sometimes destructive, are also acts of creation, giving birth to new land and renewing the ecological balance of the islands. This duality reflects the Hawaiian understanding of pono, the state of harmony and righteousness achieved through respect for natural and spiritual laws. Pele's power, therefore, is not rooted in vengeance, but in the maintenance of sacred balance, ensuring the boundaries she establishes are recognized and honored. Symbolically, Pele represents the transformative energy required to assert and protect one's personal and communal space. Fire, as her primary element, serves as a potent metaphor for both destruction and renewal, illustrating that the act of setting boundaries can lead to profound growth and regeneration. Her legends often depict encounters with individuals who challenge her authority, only to learn that true harmony arises from acknowledging and respecting the limits she defines. In this way, Pele's story transcends its mythological context, offering a universal lesson about the necessity of standing firm in one's power while remaining aligned with compassion and balance. Culturally, Pele holds a central place in Hawaiian identity, with her story deeply intertwined with the geography, spirituality, and daily life of the islands. Chants and hula dedicated to Pele continue to be performed, preserving her legacy and reinforcing the sacred connection between the people and their environment. It is essential to approach her narratives with cultural reverence, recognizing that they are part of a living tradition that continues to shape Hawaiian perspectives on land, stewardship, and spiritual responsibility. The respect afforded to Pele reflects a broader cultural ethos that views the natural world as imbued with spiritual presence and deserving of careful guardianship. Ultimately, the legend of Pele affirms that the act of drawing boundaries is an expression of self-definition and protection. By claiming and defending her volcanic domain, Pele demonstrates that power, when guided by purpose and respect, becomes a force for creation and balance rather than domination. In alignment with the theme of April 20th, her story serves as a compelling reminder that establishing and honoring sacred space is essential to maintaining harmony within both the natural and human realms. Through her enduring presence in Hawaiian mythology, Pele teaches that true strength lies in the courage to stand firm in one's identity, shaping the world with intention and reverence. Story 3, Shango, Thunder of Divine Authority. Within the vibrant spiritual traditions of the Yoruba people of West Africa, Shango, also spelled Ṣàngó, stands as a commanding embodiment of divine authority, justice, and the sacred power to define and defend boundaries, perfectly aligning with the theme of drawing boundaries and the lesson that power defines space. Revered as the Orisha of thunder, lightning, and righteous kingship, Shango is both a historical and mythological figure, believed to have once ruled as the fourth Alafin, king of the Oyo Empire, before ascending to divine status. Its legends, preserved through centuries of oral tradition and ritual practice, depict a ruler of immense charisma and formidable power, whose mastery of thunder symbolized his ability to enforce justice and maintain cosmic order. Shango's presence is often heralded by the dramatic forces of nature, crashing thunder and brilliant flashes of lightning, manifestations of his authority and reminders of the boundaries he establishes between harmony and chaos, righteousness and wrongdoing. In Yoruba cosmology, Shango's power is ultimately connected to the concept of Ashe, sacred life force that enables transformation in the realization of divine will. Through Ashe, Shango enforces moral and spiritual boundaries, ensuring that truth and justice prevail within both the human and spiritual realms. Folktales frequently recount his use of thunderstones, believed to be physical remnants of lightning strikes, as symbols of his presence and instruments of divine judgment. These stones were often kept in shrines or homes as protective talismans, reinforcing the belief that Shango's authority safeguards communities from injustice and malevolent forces. While his temper is legendary, it is not arbitrary. Rather, it reflects the seriousness with which he upholds balance and accountability. Those who honor truth and integrity receive his protection, while those who violate ethical or communal boundaries may face his swift and transformative power. Symbolically, Shango represents the courage required to stand firm in one's authority and to assert boundaries that preserve justice and harmony. Thunder and lightning, his primary manifestations, serve as potent metaphors for clarity and decisive action, forces that illuminate truth and dispel darkness. Unlike boundaries established through fear or exclusion, Shango's demarcations are rooted in the maintenance of equilibrium, ensuring that individuals and communities remain aligned with moral and spiritual principles. His double-headed axe, known as the Oshe, further symbolizes balance and the capacity to wield power responsibly, emphasizing that true strength lies in the wise and ethical applications of authority. Through these symbols, Shango teaches that defining one's space is not an act of domination, but a necessary expression of self-respect and communal stewardship. Culturally, Shango remains a central figure in Yoruba religious practice and its diasporic tradition, including Santeria, Lukumi, Candomblé, and other Afro-Atlantic spiritual systems. Festivals, dances, and rituals dedicated to him celebrate not only his power, but also his role as a protector of social order and a champion of justice. Devotees seek his guidance in matters requiring courage, leadership, and the establishment of clear boundaries, reflecting the enduring reverence of his archetype in contemporary spiritual life. It is essential to approach Shango's narrative with cultural reverence, recognizing that they are part of a living tradition that continues to shape the identities and spiritual practices of Yoruba communities worldwide. Ultimately, the legend of Shango affirms that the act of standing firm in one's power is essential to maintaining balance and justice. By yielding thunder as both a protective and corrective force, Shango demonstrates that boundaries, when guided by wisdom and integrity, become instruments of harmony rather than division. In alignment with the theme of April 20th, his story serves as a powerful reminder that true authority arises from alignment with moral truth and the courage to defend what is sacred. Through the resounding echo of thunder, Shango teaches that power defines space not through fear, but through the unwavering commitment to justice, balance, and the protection of community. Story 4, Thor, Guardian of Midgard. Across the rugged landscapes of Norse mythology, Thor, the thunder-wielding protector of gods and humans, stands as a powerful symbol of defense in the deliberate drawing of boundaries, perfectly reflecting the theme of the stand and the lesson that power defines space. Celebrated in the mythic poems of the Poetic Edda and later recorded in Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda during the 13th century, Thor is revered as the steadfast guardian of Midgard, the realm of humanity. Armed with his enchanted hammer, Mjolnir, he patrols the borders between order and chaos, confronting the giants, known as the Jotnar, who seek to breach these boundaries and disrupt cosmic balance. Rather than acting as a conqueror, Thor fulfills the role of a vigilant sentinel, ensuring that harmony is preserved through strength, courage, and unwavering commitment to protection. Stories of Thor frequently depict journeys beyond the safe confines of Asgard and Midgard into the perilous territories of Jotunheim, the land of the giants. These encounters are not merely battles of physical strength, but symbolic confrontations between stability and the untamed forces of nature. In the tale of Thor's fishing expedition with the giant Hymir, he ventures into the vast ocean to confront Jormungand, the Midgard serpent, whose immense form encircles the world. This act underscores Thor's responsibility to defend the boundaries that safeguard existence itself. Similarly, in the story of the giant Thrym, stealing Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, an emblem of protection and sacred order, is reclaimed through determination and cleverness, restoring the security of the realms. Each narrative emphasizes that Thor's power lies not only in his might, but also in his role as a defender of sacred space. Symbolically, Thor embodies the principle that boundaries are essential for maintaining balance and well-being. Mjolnir serves as more than a weapon. It is a consecrating instrument used in blessings, marriages, and rites of protection, reinforcing its association with the sanctification of space. The thunder and lightning accompanying Thor's presence mirror the decisive clarity required to assert limits and protect what is valued. His actions illustrate that standing firm in one's power is an act of stewardship rather than domination, emphasizing responsibility to community and the preservation of harmony. The constant tension between the gods and the giants reflect the universal need to maintain boundaries against forces that threaten stability, both externally and within the self. Thor's cultural significance extends beyond mythology into the daily lives of the Norse people. Amulets shaped like Mjolnir were commonly worn as a protective talisman, signifying trust in Thor's guardianship. These symbols also serve to sanctify homes and gatherings, reinforcing the idea that protection begins with clearly defined and respected spaces. Even after the Christianization of Scandinavia, Thor remained an enduring cultural figure, representing resilience, strength, and the defense of communal values. His legacy continues to resonate in modern interpretations of mythology, where he is recognized as an archetype of a protector who stands firm against chaos. Ultimately, the legend of Thor affirms that the act of drawing boundaries is integral to sustaining harmony and security. By defending Midgard and Mjolnir as both a weapon and a blessing, Thor demonstrates that true power arises from the courage to protect rather than to dominate. His unwavering stance against the encroachment of chaos serves as a timeless reminder that establishing and maintaining boundaries is an expression of care, responsibility, and respect for the sanctity of life. In alignment with the theme of April 20th, Thor's story illustrates that when individuals stand firmly within their power, they create spaces where balance and protection can flourish. Hey everybody, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed those 4 stories on the stand. Today is April 20th. Happy Monday and happy April 20th for any of you that celebrate 420. Today was all about the stand and the theme was drawing boundaries. With those 4 stories today, we saw the lesson that power defines space. So we see 4 protectors right away, 4 people with extreme power, or the ability to stand up to others, to stand up for others. And we start that off with someone we've seen before, Brigid. So Brigid's cultural significance is that Brigid symbolizes protection, healing, and creativity, and the sanctification of domestic and communal spaces, emphasizing the importance of establishing boundaries that foster harmony and well-being. So Brigid's main focus is using boundaries just like protecting your sacred hearth. So protecting the flame within the hearth is like protecting your boundaries. If it doesn't bring you peace, harmony, happiness, joy, warmth, then why is it in our life? And that's kind of what Brigid reminds us, is that set boundaries for those things that aren't adding significance, aren't adding pleasure, joy, happiness into your life. Set those boundaries and then uphold them. It's just like lighting a fire. If we don't cater to the fire, if we don't help the fire breathe, it's going to go out eventually. We have to have discipline. We have to have our own resolve when it comes to that stuff. And the important note is that Brigid is a revered figure in both pagan and Christian traditions. Her stories and associated rituals should be approached with cultural respect, recognizing their ongoing spiritual significance in Irish heritage. Something that I also enjoy about the Brigid story is through boundaries that are always set, but also the community involvement in terms of helping with the hearth. There are certain things that as community members, when someone reaches out to us, it should be on us to help them. It should be on us to encourage them or simply, help with their fire, help kindle some of their stuff when they need help, because there are times when we ourselves need help. And if we aren't open to our community, it's hard to expect our community to be open to us. That's something that I've been really focusing on lately is I've been closed I've been closed off to some community aspects for my own well-being, my own personal well-being. And now I'm sitting at this stage where I have to distinguish the rest of the community from those few places or people that make it hard to want to be involved. Because, yeah, there are some times where we live in communities and there are a few people that really it's all about them. And it seems to be one thing after another. Um, and all we can really do is just to continue to be happy and support each other and recognize what things are out of our control and acknowledge that, just because someone else is being a monster or difficult doesn't mean that we have to be. They'll meet their maker, they'll deal with that when the time comes. And one of the main questions, that's asked in a lot of folklores, a lot of religious aspects is that what we do here, we will have to answer for to someone or to something later. So while we may deal with difficulties here, or while we may have struggles with our community members, or not understand why life is difficult for us and easier for others, or vice versa, or anything like that, we just got to remember whatever we can do what we can do, and to love each other and to take care of each other when we can, pretty much. Pele. Now we go to Hawaii, where it's another fire elemental deity, but Pele is a sovereign of fire and sacred land as well. We've seen Pele in other stories where her wrath is seen, her jealousy, her suspicion comes in. Some of those main things that seem to flow with the fire elements when they're not under control. So just like the previous story of Brigid and having boundaries and maintaining the hearth, maintaining the fire, this one is with Pele, it's all about controlling the fire or understanding the power of it and having to deal with the rage, having to deal with it taking up space. Because fire takes up space fast, just like, I guess all the elements do really, but when it's raging and you continue to blow fire or blow air on it, continue to push it, the wind, fire just takes off without needing a lot of help, especially when it gets out of control. But with Pele, the fire in this case is sometimes we draw boundaries to take care of ourselves, protect ourselves and our family. And sometimes that means we draw boundaries with our community members. We draw boundaries with our land, knowing where and when it's safe to be, as well as holding ourselves to the standard of these are my boundaries. And it's not, oh, someone disrespects your boundaries and it's okay, that's on them. No, there is a little bit of rage. There is a little bit of anger when people cross those lines, and especially when they do it intentionally or thinking that our boundaries are only there for certain people, when in all aspects, the boundaries should be there for everyone. And the people that truly care and love us should understand that and should respect our boundaries without us really having to beg or plead with them. And with that, the cultural significance for Pele is that Pele symbolizes creation, transformation, and the sacred responsibility of defining and protecting land, reinforcing Hawaiian values of pono, which is harmony, respect for nature, and spiritual stewardship. The important note for this one is that Pele is a revered figure within a living cultural and spiritual tradition. Her stories should be approached with respect for Hawaiian beliefs and the deep connection between mythology, land, and identity. So having those self-boundaries and protection is also protecting the land. So within our first story, we see the importance of protecting community and being connected with our community as well. And the second one, we see a little bit more of our land is also part of our community, right? The living environment that we're in is a major part of our community. Because when it no longer accepts us as people, I mean, it turns on us. And it's hard for us to survive when the land itself turns on us. Okay, so our third and fourth story, we jump into some thunder deities, some protectors of thunder and divine authority. Their story 3 is Shango. So this is Yoruba story, and the cultural significance for this one is that Shango symbolizes divine justice, leadership, and the responsible exercise of power, reinforcing the importance of moral integrity and the protection of communal harmony within Yoruba cosmology. So Shango's aspect or Shango's authority, as it said in the story, was that he safeguards communities from injustices, from impurity, from all of this corruption. He's there to protect communities because if one or two people are prospering and the others are suffering, that means our community isn't in harmony. That means we aren't in balance. So Shango makes sure that individuals are upholding their own kind of integrity within themselves, their boundaries, upholding their boundaries as well as the boundaries they have for others, and remembering that we are all in this together. And that by worrying about I for so long, it does influence others and it makes it hard to earn back our, our reputation or to change our reputation. I liked his double-headed axe, so I'm going to reread that. So it symbolizes balance as the capacity to wield power responsibly, emphasizing that true strength lies in the wise and ethical application of authority. So I like that because we go right into the second one with Thor. And while Shango has a two-sided axe, Thor has Mjolnir, his hammer. There are some, I mean, we see in the new Marvel there, and then in some other mythologies, stories with it. There are other weapons, and one is the axe with the other side being the hammer. I don't really remember what that one's called, but while Shango's responsibility is helping individuals remember, Thor's responsibility is protecting those day and night. So always being on guard, always being ready to step in when that Midgar serpent comes, Yorgamon. And so if we look at the cultural significance of Shango, while Shango symbolizes divine justice, leadership, and the responsible excess of power, we can look at Thor and how he symbolizes protection, resilience, and the sanctification of boundaries. So his role of Midgard reflects the Norse emphasis on maintaining balance between order and chaos. So while Mjolnir represents both defensive strength and the blessing of sacred space, because we know that it's also a blessing token, Shango, two-headed axe, symbolizes the importance of wielding your power responsibly and that the strength is through wise and ethical application. While Shango's heavy emphasis is on how we wield power individually, Thor really is how he wields power. The protectors wield power as well. And while both have this sense of when boundaries are crossed so many times, someone will step in and protect, we as a community kind of have those people that enforce as well and that should enforce. I think about like police officers, people in government, people in schools, and how it is their responsibility to have our best interests at heart. That's why they're put in those positions. And when they start making selfish choices, we start to see it, the financial strain, the lack of trust from community. And those aren't positions where we want to lack trust, right? With our protectors, with our educators, we don't want to lack trust. And I feel like in today's day and age, I mean, I worked in the education system and I lost trust in it, and that's why I left. But I see so many people that don't trust in the police around the nation, and it just like education, it's like you have one or two bad eggs, and yeah, there's one or two in like each department, bad eggs, and it ruins the reputation of them as a whole. And so we have to remember that when we are put in positions of leadership and any form of leadership where you're trusted to take care of other people in the community, we really have to live up to that. We really have to have integrity, and we really need to start putting people in positions of leadership that do have integrity. I think that from my perspective, I've seen a lot of people in positions of leadership that lack that very fundamental aspect within their character from my perspective. And we see it through the way that people react, people leaving, asking for help and getting none, people having a really negative view of things. And it just builds up and builds up and builds up until someone eventually steps in and goes, this is this is a misuse of power. This isn't watching out for your community. This isn't having boundaries. This is having self-preservation. That's very different from self-protection. Because while we can protect ourselves without destroying our community members, but some people that are worried about self-preservation, I mean, they'll burn their friends and their family members just to get ahead or to keep their position. Learned that lesson with a few people I thought were friends, and then I had to remember there's a big difference between life friends and work friends, that's for sure. But with all of those in mind, our daily thread for today with the stand is that Brigid's sacred flame guards the threshold of the hearth. Pele's fire shapes and claims the land she calls home. Shango's thunder resounds with justice and rightful authority. Thor's hammer defends Midgard from encroaching chaos. Each figure stands firm in the power to protect, and each boundary is drawn with purpose and care. Sacred space emerges where intention meets courage. To stand in one's power is to declare what shall be protected. With our theme of the stand, our topic of the stand and our theme of drawing boundaries, with our lesson, power defines space, our topic today, with all that we thought about and how we're looking at other protectors and how the elements are huge fundamental forces with that. Now we think about ourselves and the elemental forces that we have. What do I defend? That's our thought for today. What do I defend? What things are within my care? It could be plants, it could be animals, it could be other people, it could be ideas. There are so many different things that it could be. So we're going to think about, what do I defend today? And then our activity today is to say no aloud once. If you need to say no more than once, that's totally fine. But say no aloud once, clearly and without apology. Sometimes a lesson that I learned with being a teacher is that sometimes no is enough. You don't need to always explain to everybody. And yes, explaining to students, I think, is a whole different story than explaining to full-grown adults. But no is absolutely enough. When we tell someone, no, this is my boundary, and they try to have us defend it, I think it truly is inappropriate. And I'm saying that's different between adults and students, because students are allowed to ask questions. That's why they're in school. So they should be testing the boundaries. They should be asking so that they can see how people respond. And so when you tell them no and they go, well, why? I can explain it to you once or twice. Maybe I'm not explaining it every single day. But when adults tell you, well, why, it's not that big of a deal. No, it's my boundary. Just because other people lack that same boundary doesn't mean that we have to drop our guard for them. So today we're going to say no aloud once. And we're going to feel okay with not apologizing and being very clear with where we stand. And then my final thought for you guys today on April 20th. I know some of you have lots to do. It's 4:20. I got to go to court in a little bit. I'm looking here at my watch as if I have one. I don't. It's like Troy from High School Musical. I've been seeing that meme where he's always checking. He doesn't have a watch. Anyways, the final thought is to define your limits as acts of protection rather than resistance. So protect yourself, set those boundaries, say no. And when they ask why, say, because that's my boundary, because no is enough. And then think about, what do I defend today? And have a great day. Again, today was April 20th. You're here with Jane, and Molly's taking her nap. Roxy, our brown tabby, is behind the screen. She's doing all the edits and camera work today. So if you don't like it, have a little bit of respect. She's just a little kitty. All right. She's about, how old are you, Rox? 6 or 7? She doesn't like to be questioned during filming. But anyways, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. And I hope you guys enjoyed the episode today with the stand and drawing boundaries. And don't ever apologize for having boundaries and holding people to those, regardless of who they are. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow on April 21st. Have a great and safe day out there today. Anyways, bye guys.